This is one in a series of orchid care videos sponsored and presented by repotme.com Orchid Supplies.
Hi, I'm here to talk today about repotting a Phalaenopsis orchid. This particular little orchid here, it's in a 3-inch ceramic orchid pot. We bought this at Mother's Day at the checkout line of our local grocery store. And it's a real cute little guy. It happens to be one of the new miniature Phalaenopsis, so it's got a fairly small leaf span here. But it has beautiful big blooms, yellow French spot, very pretty. It's been in bloom now since May, so it's now late August, so I guess it's been May, June, July, August, about 4 months. And it was in bloom when we bought it. And it's time now to give this guy a good little repotting. Now, he has basically set one new leaf since we've owned it. You can see it's a nice healthy new leaf. Also has another itty bitty leaf coming out right here. The stalk has died back completely, indicating that this plant is going to focus right now on leaf growth. And since it's a young plant, it's a new acquisition, it's done blooming, and it's time, while it's still here in active growth before it sets a new spike, for us to repot it. Now, since this is a new acquisition of ours, I really have no idea what to expect in the root zone. You may remember this plant if you get our newsletter or been on our website reading some of the orchid care information that we have there. This is the plant that we bought when it was in another enclosing ceramic pot that had absolutely no drainage. And I think the article is called Orchid Disaster Diverted, something like that, because had it been left in a pot with no drainage hole, the plant probably would have drowned and it probably wouldn't still be alive today. What we did then is we removed it from its enclosing pot. We gently, since it was in bloom, we gently took it out of the little plastic liner that it was in, and we set it in the ceramic orchid pot and left it to enjoy its bloom cycle. And now that it's done blooming, it's time to repot it. This particular plant, we've gone and we've really soaked it. It's in moss. We wanted to make sure it was really nice and wet before we repotted it, because that way the roots are going to be nice and flexible. So all I'm going to do here is grab this plant at the base, pop it out of the pot. This is going to be the first time we're going to get a chance to look at these roots. Now, since this is a brand new plant, I have no idea what we're going to find, so we'll learn together, I guess. So what I'm going to do now is start sort of gently stripping off the old moss. Let's see what we've got. Well, just going to throw the old moss here into the bucket that I have. Just never reuse old moss or anything like that. And let's see here. And so far so good. Take these little flower clips off. Take the stake off. You can see we're going to need to cut that bloom spike back. Okay. Try to get as much of this moss off as we can, as gently as we can. We could optionally wash the roots at this point, although we don't have to. I'm going to detangle them here a little bit, and let's see if we can get a good look at what we're dealing with. It's always exciting with a new acquisition because you really don't know what you're going to find at the root zone, and sometimes you find a lot of dead and decaying roots. This guy is surprisingly in good shape, considering he was a grocery store acquisition. Okay, well, you know, I'm not really unhappy with any of these roots, to be perfectly honest. They all look to be in pretty decent shape. I think I'm just going to leave them all alone. Alright, first thing I'm going to do here is I've got my clippers that have been soaking in a little bit of Phalaenopsis and water. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clip this off at the base. Okay. I've got another one down here that I didn't quite get clipped as low as I would have liked, so I'm going to go ahead and clip that. Let's see here. I'm going to check real quick in between these leaves, make sure there are any critters hiding. I don't see any. Okay, he looks pretty good. Okay, so now what we need to do is kind of scope out what size pot we need. Now, usually when I repot an orchid, I bring out a few different size pots because I have no idea what I'm going to find at the root zone. And the pot that it was in is not usually a good indicator of what pot it's going into. So let's see, I brought out a 3-inch slotted pot. That's a little tight. I mean, it came out of a 3-inch pot, but this guy's got a pretty good root zone. These are a little too small. Okay, let's take a look at this 4-inch pot here. If you can get a good look down in here, but we've got pretty good room for the roots. We're going to have a little bit of room for growth. I think it's going to work pretty well. One thing I am concerned about, though, is I do seem to have a little bit of extra room in this pot, so I'm going to use an old trick to effectively shrink the pot size just a little bit. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some white packing peanuts, and these are the same packing peanuts that you get in packages in the mail. These are the kind that are not made of cornstarch. They do not break down. You want to use pure white ones. You don't want the pink ones. They're for anti-static. You don't want the green ones. They're made of recycled materials. You have no idea what's in them. You want the good old-fashioned white polystyrene styrofoam peanuts. And I'm just going to put a few of them here in the bottom of the pot. I think that about 5 of them looks good to me. For some reason, Phalaenopsis roots really love to have a few peanuts in the bottom of the pot. So now I'm going to kind of nestle this guy in here. I'm going to try to get the base of the plant more or less even with the top of the pot, just a smidge below. A few of these aerial roots, I'm going to go ahead and just really try to encourage them to go down into the pot here. And then I've got some nice Phalaenopsis Classic orchid mix. This is an orchid mix that's made with long fibered Chilean moss. It's got a little bit of sponge rock in it. And I've put it here in this old colander, rinsed it out, and kind of squeezed it out till it's got about the consistency of a nice damp sponge. I mean, you kind of feel like you want to go and like wipe the table with this. It's right about that wetness. It's not too dry, it's not too wet. And then what I'm going to do here is just start packing this moss in around these orchid roots. Just kind of do it gently. I don't want to break any of the roots. Come here on the other side, again, do the same thing. Get a little bit of, try to get the moss down in under there. Encourage as many roots as I can to go beneath into the moss where they'll get a lot of nice, happy moisture. Okay, and I don't want to pack this this moss too tight for my environment because I need it to dry out. I like to water the orchids about once a week, and depending on how tightly I pack this moss, they may or may not dry out once a week. So I like a nice medium to light moss packing in here, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, all right, I've pretty much got all of this tucked in here. Again, you can see we have our layer of peanuts in the bottom, nice layer of moss. We've encouraged the roots to go down into that moss. This orchid came without a label. I will put a label on it that indicates when I last repotted it and when it last bloomed, and also indicate that I moved it up a pot size because the next year I may want to consider not moving it up a pot size since I did so this year. That's about it for repotting this Phalaenopsis orchid. I'm going to go ahead and keep it inside a little lower light levels than usual for about a week. Let it adjust to its new surroundings, and then it'll go out in the greenhouse.
For more information on orchid care and to purchase orchid supplies, please visit us at www.repotme.com. Thank you.